The sky was calm, just like any other day, until it wasn't. Around noon, everything changed. Suddenly, a loud rumble shook the air, and a strange dark cloud appeared in the sky. At first, people thought it was a storm, but it was something far worse. Large ships, like something out of a science fiction movie, hovered above major cities across the globe. They were huge, so big that no one could even see the top of them. There were hundreds of them, covering the sky in a way no human had ever seen before. As they moved closer to Earth, they blocked out the sun, casting everything below into darkness. It felt like the world was about to end. Cities were the first targets. The giant ships launched their weapons, bright beams of light that struck the ground with deadly force. The beams hit buildings, tearing them apart in seconds. People screamed and ran, trying to escape, but there was nowhere to go. Nothing on Earth could stop what was coming from above. The first bomb dropped on New York City, the explosion so powerful it rattled the entire East Coast. The massive shockwave sent cars flying, and buildings collapsed into piles of dust. It wasn't just one bomb. There were many. Each one landed with a roar that could be heard for miles. Every bomb seemed more destructive than the last, and every city became a target. London, Tokyo, Paris, all were hit within hours. The alien ships showed no mercy. Governments around the world tried to react. They scrambled to launch fighter jets, send out missiles, anything to stop the invasion. But nothing worked. The aliens' technology was far more advanced than anything humans had. The jets were torn apart before they even got close, and missiles simply bounced off the alien ship shields. It was clear, Earth was helpless. In a matter of hours, the entire planet was in chaos. The skies were filled with people running for shelter, governments issuing emergency orders, and people trying to get to safety. Yet the alien fleet didn't stop. The ships hovered above, firing their weapons and destroying everything in their path. People watched in horror as entire buildings, cities, and landmarks were wiped off the map. It felt like the world was ending right before their eyes. The news stations tried to report, but there was nothing they could say that made any difference. The invasion was real, and no one knew how to fight back. By evening, the alien ships had begun to land. Large, metallic doors opened, and strange, towering creatures stepped out. Their bodies were covered in armor, and they had strange weapons that hummed with deadly energy. They walked calmly, almost as if they knew no one could stop them. They didn't rush, but their presence was enough to send a chill down the spine of anyone who saw them. The first reports came in from the ground. The aliens were moving in, marching down the streets, clearing them with a frightening silence. People panicked, running for their lives, but it was too late. The aliens began taking over key locations, military bases, government buildings, and communication hubs. Within hours, the human leadership lost control. The panic was unlike anything ever seen before. In the streets, there were no rules. People fought for resources, for safety, for survival. It seemed like humanity had lost all hope. The streets, once filled with life, became desolate. The sound of helicopters and jets in the air did nothing to stop the aliens. Every attempt by humans to fight back only seemed to make the aliens stronger, their grip on Earth tighter. It was clear to everyone. Earth was facing an enemy unlike anything they had ever encountered. The aliens, with their superior technology and strength, had already won the first battle. People were terrified, and the idea of survival seemed impossible. But then, just as quickly as they had arrived, the aliens paused. There was a strange stillness. No one knew what they were waiting for, but the brief silence gave Earth's survivors a moment to think. It was as if the aliens were giving them time. Time to realize how small and weak humanity truly was in comparison. This was it. Earth had been ambushed. The war had begun, and there was no turning back. Humanity was on the brink of extinction, facing an enemy that seemed unstoppable. But even in the darkest moment, a tiny spark of hope remained. The aliens were powerful, But humans were clever, and if they had any chance at surviving, they would have to find a way to fight back, no matter how impossible it seemed. The destruction from the alien fleet was overwhelming. Cities were in ruins, and Earth's armies had been defeated in the blink of an eye. But even as the world seemed to fall apart, something began to stir. Amidst the chaos, people started to fight back. It wasn't much, not yet, but it was enough to show the aliens that humans weren't going to give up without a fight. The first sign of hope came from the military. Across the globe, small groups of soldiers, engineers, and scientists who had survived the initial attack began to gather. They didn't have much. No tanks, no missiles, no real weapons. But what they did have was their brains, their determination, and their will to protect their homes. They gathered in hidden bunkers and underground shelters, working day and night. They studied the wreckage left by the alien ships. Pieces of alien technology, destroyed but still intact, were scattered all over Earth's cities. These human survivors, led by brilliant minds, started to figure out how the alien tech worked. It wasn't easy. The aliens had far more advanced technology, but humans were quick learners. The first breakthrough came when a group of engineers managed to reverse engineer a small alien weapon. It wasn't much, but it was something. A single beam weapon, something that could shoot powerful energy blasts, was now in human hands. The survivors used this weapon to take out a few of the alien patrols that were roaming the streets. It wasn't a victory, but it was a message. Humans could fight back. The aliens were not invincible. News of this victory spread quickly, and soon more survivors joined the effort. Small pockets of resistance formed all over the world. Some soldiers managed to steal alien ships that had crash-landed, using them to attack the remaining alien forces. Others used the scraps of alien technology to build their own weapons. The first human-made war machines appeared, combining Earth's technology with alien tech. It was a dangerous mix, but it worked. Meanwhile, a team of scientists worked on finding a way to communicate with the aliens. They knew that the humans couldn't fight the entire fleet head-on. The numbers were just too great. But if they could somehow talk to the aliens, maybe they could find a way to negotiate or understand their motives. It was a long shot, but humanity had to try. As weeks passed, the small victories began to add up. Humans were learning more about the aliens' weapons, tactics, and weaknesses. The alien forces seemed confused by the sudden resistance. Their arrogance had led them to believe that Earth would fall without a fight. But they were wrong. The aliens had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and survive. A plan began to form. Earth's military leaders, now working together as a united force, decided to launch a coordinated attack. They would use the alien tech they had learned to master, combined with human-made weapons, to strike the aliens where it hurt the most: their supply lines and their power sources. It was risky, but the humans had no choice. On a cold night, the Resistance launched their first large-scale attack. A group of human ships, armed with alien weapons, flew straight into the heart of an alien fleet. The alien ships, still not used to human tactics, were caught off guard. The humans launched hit-and-run strikes, blasting the alien ships with energy beams before quickly retreating. The aliens, who had been expecting a simple invasion, were now facing an enemy that didn't follow their rules. The humans didn't stop there. They attacked alien strongholds, sabotaged their supply depots, and blew up their communication centers. The aliens had come to Earth thinking they would crush humanity in a matter of days, but now they were losing. The humans were taking back their planet, one victory at a time. But it wasn't without a cost. The resistance was small, and each attack meant risking more lives. There were losses. Cities continued to burn, and the ground shook with the roar of explosions. But the humans refused to back down. Every loss only made them fight harder. They knew that their survival depended on it. In the midst of all this, something incredible happened. People from all walks of life came together. Scientists, soldiers, farmers, even children, all began to contribute. They may not have been soldiers, but they found ways to help. Some gathered supplies, others made weapons, and some simply kept the hope alive. Humanity wasn't just fighting back. They were uniting in a way they never had before. By now, the alien fleet knew that Earth wasn't going to give up easily. They had underestimated the humans' willpower, their resourcefulness, and their ability to fight. What the aliens didn't understand was that humans had something they didn't: heart. The aliens had technology and strength, but the humans had something more powerful: the desire to protect their world and the drive to never give up. The battle was far from over, but the aliens had learned something important. Earth wasn't just a planet to conquer. It was a home, and humans would do anything to protect it. The war had been raging for weeks now. Earth's cities were still in ruins, but the survivors were no longer sitting idly by. They had learned how to fight back, and now they were ready for something bigger. The small victories from the human resistance had inspired people all over the world. Yet, everyone knew it wasn't enough. The alien fleet was massive, and the time had come to make a bold move. It was time to do something the aliens wouldn't expect. In hidden military bunkers around the world, Earth's leaders came together. They gathered the best minds from every corner of the globe: engineers, scientists, and military commanders. These were people who had been working nonstop, repairing old weapons, studying alien technology, and coordinating guerrilla attacks. But now, they were facing a new challenge: how to take down the alien fleet once and for all. After hours of tense discussion, a plan began to form. It was risky. No, it was almost impossible, but it was the only chance Earth had. They would build their own fleet of warships, made from a mix of alien technology and human know-how. The plan was simple. They would strike at the heart of the alien fleet, hit them where it hurt the most, and keep them guessing. It would be a surprise attack, and it had to work. The first step was to gather all the alien technology the resistance had been able to reverse engineer. From energy beams to shield generators, the humans had learned a lot. They had salvaged alien ships that had crashed during the early battles, dissected them, and figured out how they worked. Now, they were going to use that knowledge to build their own ships that could fight the alien fleet on its own terms. The survivors didn't have much time. The alien fleet was still hovering above Earth, waiting for the moment when they could strike the final blow. The human forces had been able to cause some damage, but they knew it wasn't enough. The aliens were still powerful, and they still had the upper hand. But the humans weren't backing down. They worked around the clock, designing new ships, constructing them in hidden factories. The ships were far from perfect. They were cobbled together, built with scraps of old Earth tech and alien parts. Some were fast and light, built for quick strikes. Others were larger, heavily armored, meant to take the full brunt of the alien weapons. Together, they formed a ragtag fleet, nothing like the sleek, powerful alien ships. But they would have to do. Meanwhile, Earth's military commanders prepared their forces. They weren't just going to send their new ships into space. They needed to know how to fight the aliens in space too. The humans had learned about the alien ship formations, their strategies, and their weaknesses. They used this information to plan their attack. They knew the aliens wouldn't expect them to come all at once. They'd think the humans were still weak, still disorganized. The element of surprise was on their side. The plan was set. In the dead of night, when the aliens were least prepared, Earth's new fleet would launch. The human ships would fly straight into the alien fleet, scattering into groups to confuse the enemy. Some ships would target the alien weapon systems. Others would go for their power sources. The goal was simple: disable the alien ships one by one. But even with all their planning, the humans knew this mission would be dangerous. They would be outnumbered, and they had no idea how the aliens would respond. But one thing was clear: they couldn't wait any longer. The aliens were planning something big. If they didn't strike now, it might be too late. As the clock ticked down to launch time, there was a strange mix of fear and excitement in the air. Earth's forces were ready. The ships were in place. The pilots were strapped in, their hearts racing. It wasn't just the fate of the world at stake anymore. It was the fate of every single human alive. The people who had survived the early battles, who had fought through the worst of the destruction, were counting on these ships to turn the tide of the war. At last, the signal came. The human fleet launched into the sky, a streak of fire against the night. The world watched from below, holding its breath. The ship soared higher and higher, breaking through Earth's atmosphere and into space. The alien fleet was waiting. The battle began. The human ships immediately scattered, as planned. They fired their weapons, striking the alien ships' weak points. Explosions filled the sky as human ships dodged and weaved between the alien vessels. The aliens, still recovering from their shock, struggled to react. They hadn't expected humans to fight so fiercely, to attack so quickly. For the first time in the war, the alien fleet seemed uncertain. They weren't in control anymore. The humans were fighting back with everything they had, and it was working. The alien ships began to fall. One by one, they exploded in bursts of light and energy. The humans had done it. The first wave of the plan was a success, but there was still more to do. The battle had only just begun. The battle was far from over, but the humans had just done the impossible. Their surprise attack had caught the alien fleet off guard. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens were facing real resistance. Their ships, once thought invincible, were now being torn apart by the very people they had come to destroy. Up in space, the alien commanders watched in disbelief as their forces began to fall. The humans, with their makeshift fleet, had already destroyed several alien ships. The alien ships, once towering and powerful, were now exploding into bursts of fire and debris. The alien commanders could hardly believe their eyes. They had underestimated the humans, and it was starting to show. The alien fleet had been confident. Their technology was far more advanced than anything Earth had ever seen. They thought they could crush humanity in a matter of days, but now, after the first wave of attacks, they were losing. The humans were smarter, quicker, and more determined than the aliens had ever expected. "Impossible," muttered one of the alien commanders as he watched a human ship dive through the fire, narrowly avoiding an alien blast. How are they doing this? He wasn't alone in his disbelief. The entire command center was in chaos. Alien soldiers rushed to their stations, barking orders and trying to regain control of the situation. But every time they thought they had a plan, the humans would strike again. A human ship would appear from nowhere, hit a weak spot on an alien vessel, and disappear before the aliens could respond. It was like fighting shadows. The aliens had thought they would be in control, but now it was clear they weren't. Back on Earth, the news of the human success spread like wildfire. People who had been cowering in fear were now cheering. The resistance had done what no one thought possible. Earth wasn't going down without a fight. The humans had managed to build a fleet, yes, but it wasn't just the ships that were shocking the aliens. It was the way humans fought. They didn't fight like soldiers. They fought like survivors. While Earth's new fleet continued its strike, the alien commanders were trying to regroup, but their communication systems had been hacked. The humans, having learned from their earlier victories, had been able to disable key alien communication points. The aliens couldn't coordinate their attacks anymore. They couldn't send reinforcements. They couldn't issue commands to their troops. The alien fleet was in disarray. Frustration mounted among the alien ranks. The aliens had never faced an enemy like this before. They were used to dealing with worlds that bowed to their power, planets that surrendered without a fight. But Earth wasn't like the others. The humans were fighting back with everything they had, using every advantage they could find. The humans were small, weak by alien standards, but they were relentless. One of the lead alien commanders, a being known for his cold, calculating mind, paced back and forth in his command ship. He was known as Zarak, and his reputation was built on conquering entire planets without breaking a sweat. But now he was facing something he didn't understand. It wasn't just the humans' ability to use alien technology against them. It was their adaptability. The aliens had planned every detail of their invasion, but they had failed to account for one thing: human creativity. Zarek's mind raced. He couldn't believe how quickly Earth's forces had adapted. They had taken alien ships, studied them, and turned them against the invaders. But that wasn't all. The humans were making moves that no alien commander would ever have expected. They weren't following the typical rules of war. They were improvising, creating chaos in the alien ranks. And it was working. The alien fleet had always fought with precision, with order. But now, that order was breaking down. Ships that had once flown in perfect formations were scattering. The aliens, in their confusion, had begun to make mistakes. The humans were unpredictable, and that unpredictability was their greatest weapon. Zarek quickly gathered his commanders. "We underestimated them," he said, his voice low but filled with anger. "These humans are not like other species. They are more dangerous than we realized, but we will crush them. Regroup and prepare for a counterattack." His commanders nodded, but deep down, they all knew that the humans had done something they had never expected. They had made the aliens fear them. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens didn't feel like the winners. They were being forced onto the defensive. Their carefully laid plans were falling apart, and the humans were proving to be far stronger than they could have imagined. But the aliens weren't ready to give up. Zarek's voice filled the command center. "We will destroy them. They have no chance against our full strength." Still, doubt lingered. The aliens could regroup, yes, but they now knew something important. They couldn't underestimate the humans anymore. Earth wasn't going to fall as easily as they thought. The humans, against all odds, had shocked the invaders, and for the first time, the aliens realized they were not fighting an easy war. The battle had reached a critical point. The aliens were starting to regroup, their ships moving in tighter formations as they prepared for a major counterattack. Earth's forces, though smaller and outnumbered, had done everything they could. The surprise attacks, the stolen alien technology, the quick strikes, they had all given the humans a small but important victory. But now, the aliens were ready to bring their full force down on Earth. In the command center beneath the surface of Earth, the human leaders gathered for one last meeting. The atmosphere was tense. They knew that their time was running out. The alien fleet was bigger, stronger, and better organized than anything humanity had ever faced. And while their resistance had been fierce, the humans didn't have much left to fight with. "There's nothing more we can do," General Wallace said, his voice tired. His eyes were heavy, filled with the weight of the decisions he'd had to make over the past weeks. "If we don't strike now, we'll lose everything." The room was silent. The surviving commanders and military experts all looked at each other, knowing the stakes were higher than ever. Earth had done well so far, but it wasn't enough. They had been fighting for weeks with stolen alien ships, makeshift weapons, and limited resources. The aliens were now stronger than ever, and their counterattack was already in motion. It was a race against time. Earth's last hope was a risky plan, one that would either save the planet or result in complete destruction. The plan was simple but dangerous. The human fleet, now scattered across the planet, would need to gather together in one final stand. They would launch everything they had left in a desperate attempt to destroy the alien command ship, the heart of the fleet. If they could disable or destroy that ship, the rest of the alien fleet would lose coordination, and the remaining alien forces would fall into chaos. But there was a problem. The alien command ship was heavily protected. It was surrounded by a fleet of elite alien warships, and the aliens knew this was humanity's last chance. The risk was enormous, but the humans had no other option. Back in the command center, a quiet voice broke the silence. It was Dr. Emily Zhang, the scientist who had been instrumental in understanding the alien technology. "We have one last card to play," she said, her eyes scanning the room. "But it's going to require every ship we have left. All of them." The room fell silent again as everyone looked at her. She wasn't just talking about the fleet. She was talking about something more dangerous. Emily continued, her voice steady despite the situation. "We've been studying the alien technology for weeks now, and we've discovered something. The alien command ship has a weak point. It's heavily shielded, but the shields rely on a central power source. If we can hit it hard enough, we can destroy their command ship in one blow. But the only way to do that is to launch every remaining ship in a concentrated strike, all at once." General Wallace leaned forward. "That's suicide. We'll lose everything if we do that." Emily nodded, her expression grave. "I know, but without this strike, we'll lose anyway. The aliens are too strong. We need to make them believe we still have the power to fight. If we don't act now, Earth is gone." The room went still. Everyone understood the choice that lay before them. They could take the risk and fight with everything they had, or they could give up and watch the aliens destroy Earth. There was no middle ground. It was the humans' last chance. "We don't have much time," Emily said. "If we're going to do this, we need to act now. The alien fleet is already moving. They'll be here in a few hours." Without another word, General Wallace stood up. "Prepare the fleet. All ships, get into position. This is our last shot, people. We either win this or we lose everything." Across the globe, humans sprang into action. The remaining ships, the ones still able to fight, rallied together. They flew into space, each ship moving into position, ready to launch their final attack. The survivors knew that it would be their last battle, the one that would decide Earth's fate. They had no choice but to give everything they had. The alien fleet was moving toward Earth, preparing for the final assault. But as they closed in, they saw something that shocked them. Earth's fleet, all of the remaining human ships, was forming a tight formation, ready to make a last-ditch attack. The aliens didn't believe it at first. How could the humans still have the strength to fight? They were supposed to be broken, defeated. But the humans weren't giving up. They had one final plan, and it had to work. As the human ships moved closer to the alien command ship, a sense of unity filled the air. Every pilot, every soldier, every scientist who had helped make this plan a reality knew that this was their last chance. The ships flew into formation, prepared to launch everything they had. In the heart of the human fleet, Dr. Emily John watched the screens, hoping beyond hope that the plan would succeed. It was the only chance Earth had. As the first shots were fired, the space around them lit up with energy. The final battle had begun, and Earth's last hope was in their hands. The final battle had begun, and there was no turning back. Earth's last hope rested on this single, desperate attack. The human fleet, battered and bruised from weeks of conflict, had gathered together for one final push. They knew it was all or nothing. The alien fleet, bigger and stronger than anything humanity had ever faced, was moving closer, ready to strike the final blow. But the humans were ready to fight until the very end. The first wave of human ships blasted through space, their weapons aimed at the heart of the alien fleet. Each ship was pushing itself to the limit, firing everything they had. The explosions lit up the dark void of space as the humans fought with everything they had. But they were still outnumbered. For every alien ship that fell, two more took its place. The humans had no choice but to keep pressing forward. General Wallace watched from the command center, his eyes glued to the screen. "Hold the line," he shouted, his voice filled with determination. "We cannot stop now. Every ship counts. We can't let them win." The human ships spread out across the sky, taking aim at the alien command ship. It was massive, towering over the other alien vessels, surrounded by an army of elite warships. The alien fleet had thought they were untouchable, but the humans were proving them wrong. Their attacks were fierce, unpredictable, and relentless. Each ship had a purpose, a target, and a mission to complete. Up in space, Captain Sarah Mitchell, one of the most experienced pilots in the fleet, led a squadron of human fighters. She had been through countless battles. But this one felt different. This wasn't just about winning. It was about survival. The aliens had come to Earth with one goal: to wipe humanity off the map. But Captain Mitchell and her team weren't going down without a fight. "We need to break through their defenses," Captain Mitchell ordered over the comms. "Target the weak points. We hit them where it hurts, or we'll never make it to the command ship." The squadron moved as one, weaving through enemy fire, dodging blasts, and attacking with precision. The alien warships were fast, but the humans were faster. They moved in unpredictable ways, taking the aliens by surprise. It was a fight for every inch of space, every second. There was no room for hesitation. The alien fleet began to react, launching counterattacks to try and destroy the human fighters. But it was clear that they were starting to feel the pressure. The humans weren't just fighting with weapons. They were fighting with heart. Each pilot, each soldier, and each engineer knew the stakes. They had nothing left to lose. As the battle raged on, the alien command ship came into focus. It was enormous, its sleek surface covered in thick shields that seemed impossible to penetrate. But Dr. Emily Zhang's plan was clear: hit the central power core. If they could destroy that, the rest of the alien fleet would collapse. "Lock on the target," General Wallace barked. "We go for the core. This is it. We take down their leader, or we die trying." The human fleet moved in formation, their ships working together like a single powerful machine. They fired everything they had at the alien warships surrounding the command ship, clearing a path for the final assault. But the aliens weren't going down without a fight. They unleashed their most powerful weapons, sending shockwaves through space. The human fleet took hit after hit, but they kept pushing forward. Inside the command ship, Zarak, the alien commander, watched the battle unfold. He had never seen anything like it. The humans had fought harder than he had ever expected. They had turned the tables, and now the tide was shifting. He couldn't believe how many ships were still in the fight, but he wasn't ready to give up. The alien fleet would destroy Earth, no matter the cost. "Prepare for full assault," Zarak ordered. "We will crush them. No matter how many they send, we will fight until the end." Back on Earth, the final wave of human ships approached the alien command ship. Captain Mitchell's squadron was in the lead. They were close now, close enough to make the final push. The alien fleet was desperate, their shields flickering as they tried to defend the command ship, but the humans knew this was their moment. They had to make it count. "Here we go," Captain Mitchell muttered to herself. "One shot. That's all we need." With a burst of speed, the squadron broke through the alien defenses, targeting the central power core. The alien warships tried to stop them, but the humans were relentless. They dove in, dodging explosions and laser beams, moving as one. The power core of the alien command ship was in sight. "Firing now," Captain Mitchell shouted. The blast hit the core dead center. For a moment, everything went silent. The alien command ship seemed to freeze, as if the universe itself had paused. Then, with a violent explosion, the command ship erupted into a massive burst of energy. The shockwave rippled across the battlefield, destroying the remaining alien warships in its wake. For a moment, no one could believe it. The alien fleet was falling apart. The humans had done it. They had destroyed the command ship, and with it, the heart of the alien fleet. The remaining alien ships scattered, retreating in panic. The human fleet, battered but victorious, stood in silence as the remnants of the alien invaders flowed into the void of space. Earth had won. Against all odds, they had defended their home. It wasn't just a victory. It was a statement. Humans would never give up, no matter how impossible the odds. General Wallace let out a long, relieved breath. "We did it," he said, his voice filled with awe. And for the first time in weeks, the people of Earth allowed themselves to believe it was over. They had survived. They had won. The battle was finished, and Earth was safe. The skies above Earth were silent for the first time in weeks. The battle was over. The alien fleet, once so powerful, had been shattered. The human ships, though battered and scarred, had won. Against all odds, humanity had driven back the invaders and saved their home. The war was over. The impossible had been achieved. In the command center deep below the Earth's surface, General Wallace stood still, staring at the screen. He couldn't believe it. The alien ships, once unstoppable, were retreating. One by one, they turned and fled, their once mighty formations breaking apart as they ran for their lives. Earth's defenders had done what no one thought possible. They had won. "Is it really over?" Wallace asked, his voice a mix of disbelief and relief. Dr. Emily Jong, who had played a crucial role in turning the tide of the battle, looked at the screen and nodded. "Yes, General. They're retreating. We've broken their command. They don't have any more coordination. It's over." The room erupted in cheers. The soldiers, the engineers, the pilots, everyone who had fought to protect Earth, let out a collective shout of joy. It was a victory that seemed impossible just days before, but now it was real. Humanity had stood up to the greatest threat they had ever faced and come out on top. Up in space, the remaining human ships were still cautiously watching the retreating alien fleet. No one dared to relax just yet. The humans knew better than to trust their victory too soon. The aliens were unpredictable. They could regroup, they could return with reinforcements. But for now, there was a rare moment of peace. Captain Sarah Mitchell, the pilot who had led the final assault on the alien command ship, looked out into the vastness of space. The stars seemed to shine brighter today. She couldn't believe it. They had made it. She had made it. The humans had won. "We did it," she whispered to herself. "We actually did it." Across the globe, news of the victory spread like wildfire. Cities that had been hiding in fear just days ago were now filled with celebrations. People took to the streets, cheering, hugging, and dancing. The world was alive with joy. The human spirit, which had been pushed to the brink of extinction, had survived. Earth was safe. In the heart of the celebration, a man named Marcus stood still, his eyes watching the sky. He had lost his family when the aliens first attacked. He had joined the resistance not knowing if he would survive, but hoping to make a difference. And now, standing amidst the celebration, he felt the weight of everything that had been lost. But he also felt something else. Hope. Humanity had fought for their right to exist, and they had won. Marcus joined the crowd, walking slowly through the streets as the cheers echoed around him. The world had changed. There would never be a normal day again. The scars of the war would remain. But the people of Earth had learned something important. They had learned that no matter how powerful the enemy, no matter how impossible the odds, they could fight, and they could win. General Wallace stood in the command center, watching the celebrations unfold. He had seen many battles in his life, but this one had been different. This one had been a fight for survival, for their very future. But now, as he watched the news broadcasts, he knew something that filled him with pride. Humanity had stood up, and they had won. "We may have won the battle," General Wallace said, turning to Dr. Jong. "But this is just the beginning. The galaxy will know who we are now. The next time someone tries to invade Earth, they'll think twice." Emily Jong smiled, her eyes bright with hope. "And they'll know that we're not afraid to fight. We'll never give up. Earth will always stand." And with that, the humans began the long road to rebuilding. They would face challenges, yes, but they knew they could overcome them. They had proven it. They had defeated an alien invasion against all odds. They had shown that humanity would never bow to anyone. Not now, not ever. As the sun rose over Earth, the people of the planet knew that this victory would echo through the history books forever. They had fought with everything they had, and they had won. They had shown the galaxy that when humans are pushed to the edge, they don't break, they fight, and they win.